All right. Welcome to the stream. Let's see. So today I've made a few improvements to the stream. I've bumped the gain up on my Yeti Blue mic, which I'm hoping will improve the volume that's coming through on your end and in the replay. And then instead of having my laptop clamshelled like I normally do with this external monitor that's here in front of me, I have it off to the side here, and that is allowing me to keep an eye on the YouTube Live Studio and to keep an eye on OBS, and that allowed me to work with the starting soon scene and to then cut over to this main desktop scene. And yeah, I'm able to keep an eye on the audio mixer, things like that. Also, I know that I've got my my mouse disappeared, but right here above my mouse is me. And I think in the previous video that was covering up some code. So I'm hoping to, with having this stuff over here that I can see, I can keep a better eye on that and make sure I'm never obscuring things that are actively happening in the stream. So that's exciting. Yeah, I feel like I'm making some good improvements to this whole setup. It's definitely a learning process. And speaking of learning, I wanted to dig into my TIL repository and write up a TIL post for the day. The way I work with these is I usually kind of have like a running list of things that I've learned recently that I'm interested in writing up. I don't always write them up the moment that that I encounter them, so sometimes I come back to them later. And sometimes some of these topics don't interest me later, and so I end up deleting them. But yeah, then what I do is I'll just walk you through an example of how I do this. So I was looking at the Ruby 3.0.0 release notes that came out back in December on the 25th, and one of the things that jumped out at me, so I'd heard about write word assignment, which honestly doesn't really appeal to me on its face, but I was interested to see that the write word assignment sort of supports pattern matching, at least experimentally, and so I was interested in checking that out a little bit and maybe writing a TIL about it. So to, I guess, explore that a little bit and to see what that looks like, I'm going to pop open a tmux split here. I'm going to open up an IRB pane. Actually, let me X out of this and just make sure. Well, that's the IRB version, but Ruby version 3.0.0. Great. So just make sure we're working with the right one. So open up IRB again. This is the Ruby REPL, and this allows me to play around with some statements. I can even, pull in and require some files. And what do I got? This thing bouncing on me. Okay, sorry, I fixed that. So the REPL allows me to experiment with different things in Ruby. Yeah, it's just a nice interactive environment for executing code and seeing how it works. So yeah, let's create a hash. And we're just going to assign some things in here. So we got my name, I guess. How about a handle? So I'll put my Twitter handle, and then age is another good one, but I'm not telling you, so unknown. And yeah, so we've got a hash now. We can see that it's got 3 things in it, and you imagine much larger hash, especially when you're working in an environment like Rails where you have different objects getting instantiated, different records coming in, different blobs of data coming in through the API layer, and I can imagine getting into a setting where I want to pull out just some of those values. And normally how I might do that is just with a hash access using the brackets like this. So I could say handle, oops, no typo there. Let me grab that and fix that. I can type handle like that, reference the key, and it'll pull out the value. But what the right word assignment allows us to do with this hash is we can say some hash, and then we use this arrow syntax, which, when I see this, I think of kind of old school hash syntax where this is called a hash rocket and allows you to have a key on the left side and a value on the other side. Nowadays, we really just use sort of this colon symbol syntax, but I guess they're resurrecting it for this right word assignment, and it allows us to name some things. So I guess we don't put it at the front, we put it at the end right there. So this is like a key, and we're saying if anything matches this key, assign it to this as a variable. And we can even reference multiple things. I could say handle as well. And I close that. And so this is our right word assignment statement. The pattern matching's happening over here against this given hash. And yeah, this is a nice warning. It's letting us know that this is an experimental feature. And so yeah, we shouldn't lean on that too heavily. And I'm not. I'm just interested in exploring it a little bit. Probably not going to start introducing this into production code. So because we've executed this assignment, it returns nil here, but as part of that assignment, the pattern matching happens, and so we get a local variable name, which is assigned to that value out of the hash, and then similarly with a local variable handle, that gets assigned. Something else to note is, if you reference a key in the pattern matching that it doesn't know about, that isn't in the given hash, it's going to raise this no matching pattern error. So that is something to watch out for. You'll have to do a rescue block if you plan to use this feature and potentially reference keys that don't exist. Yeah, so it makes sense this is experimental. It feels a little rough around the edges, but I'm interested to see where they go with it and if it ends up making it in long term. So I feel like this is enough exploration, and now I would like to, pull some of this out and maybe we'll pull all this out, or copy it rather, and then here's my TIL process. I figure out kind of what directory or topic this goes under. This one is Ruby, so it's going to go into that subdirectory. And then I try and come up with a title. Sometimes I come up with a title that doesn't work, and then I'll revisit it after I write the post. But yeah, a lot of times I end up with the title I'm looking for from the get-go. So yeah, what am I going to call this one? I always try and keep it under 50 characters too. Just, I think constraints are nice and sort of, I think constraints can be sort of enabling by not letting you fret over too long of titles, or similarly in the posts themselves, I limit it to 200 words so I don't have the sort of self-imposed pressure of going on and on and on. I just constrain myself to a nice, tight, small post, and as I'm thinking about TILs that I want to write, that constraint forces me to not overcomplicate it, and that makes it more approachable for me. So the title, what do we think? Extract values from hash with pattern match values from hash. Yeah, I'll start there. pattern match values from a hash. I add that a in. Let me rename this to from a hash. Okay. And then while I still got in the paste buffer, I'm going to paste in this stuff here. And again, this is sort of the code example that's going to support the post. So yeah, I'm just going to start, I guess, sketching this out. Be a code block, but italicized, emphasized, whatever. So is Ruby 3.0 the right word assignment operator? Assigning values to variables. If it comes the experimental pattern matching capability. So this pattern matching can be used with hashes to extract keyed values into local variables. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's enough, and I'm gonna just jump into the example now. So I've got a hash. It gets assigned, and then I don't think I need to do this. So I'm gonna delete that thing, and I'm gonna do that here as well, and here as well. Just kind of decluttering this example a little bit. So yeah, I like this. We create a hash, we do some pattern matching, and then we show that these values got assigned. Side. Of that operator, and then placing a hash like and then placing a hash like. Yeah, how do we talk about what this is? I don't even know what to call this. This is, some pretty strange syntax. Yeah, then placing a hash like. Listing of keys to be matched against. Yeah. So here's our example. And then this example extracts name and handle as local variables with the values of those values of those from the hash. Note that this feature is experimental. Also note that referencing a key that doesn't exist in our pattern matching statement will raise a no, oops, didn't mean to resize that. Raise a no matching pattern error. Okay. Yeah, I feel good about that. And then I want to make sure I stuck to 200 words. I'm at 167 words. Okay. Maybe I'll make a source reference by finding the Ruby 3 release notes. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, one-line pattern matching. It's redesigned. I wonder what that means. If it looked like something else. Oh, I see. Okay. So maybe there was some pattern matching that existed before that didn't take advantage or didn't have access to the right word assignment. Looks like there's some other stuff that we can do with pattern matching. That's interesting. But yeah, there's no permalinks here, so I'll just reference the whole thing. Just put a markdown link that says source. Okay, I feel good about this. So I'm gonna open up the README then. Oops, go down here and just exit out of this. Don't need that anymore. And so now I need to find the Ruby section, pattern match values from the hash. So just find where this goes alphabetically. Oops. Right here. Make sure I typed that link out right, and I did. Okay, and the last thing is I just want to bump this counter, so it's 1031 now. And yeah, now I'm going to make a commit. So I use Vim Fugitive. It's a Vim plugin that integrates with Git, sort of a Git wrapper, I guess. And what it allows me to do is basically anything I can do in Git, I can do within the context of Vim using Vim Fugitive. So this GE command here pops open the kind of what you would see with Git status. So you can see, I guess they call it the index. Actually, maybe it is the index file. That's interesting. If I were to Oh, now I'm interested because it's saying .get index. What if I were to say cat no, see, this is binary. So this is some representation of that index file, I guess. But anyway, this, this is what I would see if I were to do a get status. You'd see kind of your current branch. You'd see some details about what's been modified but not yet staged and what's untracked. So I find this helpful. It's color coded and then I can interact with it. So I don't care about these things, but I want to add this one to the index so that I can create a commit. So to stage it, I use the hyphen or dash key. So now you can see it's staged. And then I want to do the same thing with README, but instead of hitting the dash key, I'm going to hit Shift P, which is going to do like a git add patch. And this allows me to just step through and confirm the changes or pick which changes I want. So I do want this one, so I'll say yes. And I also want this one, so I'll say yes. There's nothing else in here, so it's exiting with 0. And now I have everything staged that I'm interested in including in the commit. So then I hit another binding, which is part of Git Fugitive, which is CVC, and that's a verbose commit. And what it means for it to be verbose is that it includes all of the committed changes displayed here down below. So those aren't going to be included in the commit message, but it's just, I find it useful to be able to see those or reference them as I'm writing out a commit message. So I'll just say add pattern match values from hash as a Ruby TIL. And I'm going to go ahead and write and quit this. And so that has created the commit. And I'm going to hit Q to leave this get status staging area. And now I'm back in my README. Actually, let me jump back in there real quick. So now I can see unpush to origin master. This just lets me know that on my current branch there are commits that I haven't pushed up. It's just the one right now. And so what I can do is I can say git put. And that took a second to run, and now that it's no longer listing, that commit is not existing on the remote because now it is on the remote. Cool. So that was my till for the day. Actually add it to this list. Cool. And yeah, let's see where we are. Okay. I have a little bit of time. So I'm going to jump over here, and this is sort of a rework of my personal site that I've been doing using Next.js. I think in the past I've used Gatsby, and yeah, Gatsby's fine, and probably I should just stick with what I have there, but I've really enjoyed working with Next lately, and I kind of like some of the things it simplifies, some of the stuff it gives you control over that Gatsby just tries to figure out for you or like handle for you. And so yeah, I'm checking out Next and seeing where I can get with it. So I've got the server running, but let me re-roll it. Okay, I got it running at 3000. Let me pop that open. Or not 3000, but 3333. And it's taken a second because I think it was building. Okay. So I've got some nice like Tailwind styling here, and then I've got this base Next.js stuff here. should probably rip that out pretty soon, but the thing I'd been focusing on was this week notes page. And so this is where I keep track of, I've been doing an experiment where I keep track of my week notes. So each week I'll keep a running tab in Roam of just things that I'm encountering on the web that I think are interesting, of TILs that I've written, of stuff that I've worked on that I think is of note. And I just kind of put that in a running document. And at the end of the week, I import it into here as a markdown file, and then I can view those markdown files. So here's the one from last week. Yeah, so you can see these are like the main part of the week notes, the stuff I did. Took some time off, went to the Skokie Lagoons. I started reading on writing well, things like that. Here's some stuff I found on the internet that I read. Here's a bunch of TILs that I published. Here's some to-dos. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got going on in my week notes. I think it's a nice way to stay in touch with what you do over the course of a week, because I think the week can fly by and it can feel like you've lost, any real sense of what you accomplish. But I'm also hoping it gives me a little bit of perspective on, what I did. I can imagine coming back and looking at week one, once it's like the summer, and like being like, well, what did I do 6 months ago? And I could come in here and look around and be like, oh yeah, I figured out all of this OmniAuth stuff. That was really pretty hard, but also really interesting. And yeah. This week notes concept, by the way, I'm sure a lot of people do it, but the person who I first heard about doing it, Simon Willison, is that? Yeah. This person, Simon's been doing week notes for a while. And yeah, I think these are really cool. They're pretty in depth. Got a ton of content in here. So this was a little bit of an inspiration for the week notes that I'm putting together. I like that these are in public, that they're, hyperlinked all over the place, that they include images. So definitely, goals here. Not quite to this level, but this is kind of the aspiration. Yeah. So I guess the thing that so I've kind of introduced you to this Next.js app, but the thing I was interested in looking at was, let's see. Yeah, so I think the last thing I did was to add in these purge lines to allow Tailwind and Post CSS to sort of like purge itself of any CSS that it doesn't need to be shipping to production. So that was a cool addition. Do I have any changes hanging out? No. So let me look at the git log. Yeah, purge paths. That's where I left off. I think the big challenge of all of this work was getting Next.js to read in the markdown files. And so the way that I did that was, I guess in this lib directory, I've got this content API. And yeah, this is maybe the kind of like rough edge of working in Next that, at least it felt like a rough edge after coming from Gatsby, is that whereas there's all sorts of source plugins with Gatsby where I can say like, hey, I want that markdown, or hey, I want that API, or whatever. The communities create all sorts of plugins to like read in source material. that stuff doesn't necessarily seem to exist in a Next.js context, and so I had to write a bunch of, it's what, like 50 some lines of code to read in a directory full of markdown files. So it wasn't the most straightforward thing, but it's kind of a cool challenge to figure it out. So the weak notes in particular are located in content weak notes. And then under that, I can actually show you. If I say exa tree content weak notes, you can see the content weak notes. Under that is any number of year directories. Right now I've just got 2021 and then a series of markdown files for each week. And so that's what this globby syntax is doing, is it's saying for all of the directories nested under weak notes, grab any markdown files that you find. And so then this list markdown files recursively, where does that get referenced? Right here. So get all weak notes. So it pulls that out into this results object, map over that. This is a little bit hacky. This is just using parse and relative from the path package that comes with Node. And so what that allowed me to do was to, so I think weak notes directory, oh right, okay, so this is this fully, this is an absolute path from the, I'll just give an example. So that what that's going to look like is, it's going to be like, users, jbranch code, blah, 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 blah. And then, I guess it'll just be, and then my repository, and then content, weak notes. So it's going to be this like fully qualified path here. And so what I do is I say, just give me the relative path. Full path is, yes. Okay, so the results are full paths, so that they're like this, weak notes / 2021 / week1.md. So this whole thing comes out. And so I say, give me a relative path based on the weak notes directory of this full path. And so it just kind of strips away all of this stuff and just leaves me with the 2021 week1.md. And then the parse allows me to pull off the dir, which is the directory above the file, and then the name, which is this thing right here, which I call the slug. And so, then I return those as the get weak note, which is down here. Let's see that, 76. Oops. So get weak note. It takes the year in the slug. So okay, so this is a utility for just looking up a file. So it looks in this directory at the year and then the slug. Using that full path, it's able to use read file sync to read in the file contents. And then it uses, I think gray matter is the name of this node package that gives us matter. And that allows us to read the front matter out of the top of the file. So the front matter is this stuff up here. So anything in between these 3 dashes is the front matter. And so gray matter is a package that just reads that out and then provides it as a object of data. And so then we can pull out, I guess it does more than that. It also gives you the content, which is the contents of the markdown file. So then I guess the data we just splatted in here, and that means that we have a title and a date object as part of that. So that gets returned back up here. So we get an array of these things and get all week notes. So that gets called by where it's defined, it gets called in here. Cool. So this is the sort of a dynamic route or dynamic page for all the week notes. And so it's nested under year, and then it's got a slug. So this is a cool feature of Next. You can define a get static paths function inside of, so it's just a page object. We have something called a week notes template. That's what gets returned by default, and Next knows how to render it because it's in our pages directory. And it just renders the React code that's here. But with Next, we're also able to sort of hook into this to do some extra stuff. And so get static paths allows us to define a bunch of these pages that should get built or get created at build time. So what we're saying here is basically grab all the week notes, of which there are 3 of those files right now, and then take those and create paths for each of them. And so it just passes in these params, which are year and slug. And so we're going to get 3 different pages built at build time before the site gets deployed. And they're going to be pages that correspond to these 3 things, which is why when we jump back here, you can see that we get these 3 things. And then once we've defined those paths, then anytime we're so once we define these paths, then up here, the get static props is another one of these kind of like hooks into the Next.js page. This is able to pull out the parameters that are coming in here and load in some data. Again, this is also, because it's static, it's happening at build time. And so what we have here are HTML pages that are built ahead of time. I think we have a little bit of a load here because it's the development server, but if I were to build this thing and load it up at, if I were to load this up in some sort of like production settings, I would be able to see it work a little more snappily. Yeah, so I feel like what I've got in here is almost, a TIL in itself, because this was quite a feat to figure out. But yeah, it's pretty slick now that it's working. Trying to think where to go next with this. I think one of these has some syntax highlighting. That's kind of good to know about. Guess it'd be cool to do some like additional processing of these to be able to like click on these things as like links and have them linked to topic pages. But I think that's like way low on the priority list at this point. These other things get rendered as, the actual links get rendered as links, which is nice. Okay. So yeah, I guess the thing that I'd kind of be interested in looking at is See if I can find a link. There was a recommendation that someone made for like Babel read in Markdown. Maybe just Babel Cloud Loader. Not sure if this is what I'm thinking of. Import Markdown files with Babel. Yeah, maybe doing MDX would be nice. So what I'm thinking about here is, right, there's all this code in here that I have to, write that I don't super want to maintain in order to be reading in these Markdown files. And I'm just wondering if there's, I guess, do I want to lean on a dependency instead? Kind of. I think when I first tweeted out this solution, someone recommended some sort of Babel package that's able to, that I think supports doing something like import, I don't know, all files from, content / weak notes. I want to say it like so it knew how to handle this sort of thing. And yeah. This doesn't quite seem like it. Yeah, I think maybe I was closer on track when I was looking for an import glob sort of thing. This wasn't the library, but it looks close to what I was looking for. I mean, this seems to be just for JS. Babel glob loader for Markdown. No, this isn't it either. Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to find it right now, and that's okay. Let's see, so I guess, is there anything else I want to do with this right now? No, honestly, I think the weak notes are in a pretty solid place right now. I don't think there's anything to add to them. Yeah, I think the next thing is to get the home page in shape, which, I see right now that isn't working. So, I mean, what I'm looking at for currently is This is my current site, and there's not a lot going on here. I had a Gatsby site, and then I started porting it to this new Gatsby site and just didn't get very far. And yeah, now we're gonna see how far we get with this one. Yeah, maybe if I go to GitHub and I can pull this down and check it out. Oh, there we go. Not too far from the top. So copy that, and we can clone that into here. And let's see. Here's the stuff living source, pages, index. There we go. Yeah, so this is interesting because probably a lot of this can just come over. I've got these layout tags, so I can just ignore that. Maybe I can just pull a lot of this straight over. And jump to that div tag, copy that, and then get back into this project. So if I go to pages index, leave the head stuff alone. So here's a layout tag. So if we can just put everything in here, give that a save. Is that just going to work? I mean, it sort of works. Needs some help styling wise, but yeah. Wow, so how was I styling it before? I guess I just had a I guess I was writing some CSS for that. Huh, well, not too much. Introspect, what is that? Is this, oh, it's a reset, I guess? I don't remember that. I wonder if that just came with the Gatsby plugin. I know I had some. I thought I had some Tailwind styling going on in here, but I don't know where that would have been living. So screencast, that's not in here, huh? Oh, I'm not looking in the right file right now. Or, yes, I am. Okay, this is, oops. Is this the one I'm looking for? No. Pages, index. Okay. So, screencast, that's not in here. So where's that coming from? Maybe this index page isn't what I think it is. Collection of... Oh, I think this is a different... This is not the Gatsby, I think it is. Maybe it's this one. May 17th, that seems more like it. Okay. That's why I was confused. I was looking at my 2 Gatsby sites ago. Okay. I'll get rid of that. I want to git clone this thing. And if I open up, yeah, pages, index, this is looking more like it. And yeah, we can see where I actually used some Tailwind styling. This is all making more sense now. So let's grab all that and then back over here. Right, video card's not defined. That's good because I don't have that, and that's okay. I'm just gonna go full sand on this. Okay. So this heading stuff looks a little hokey, but the rest of it is coming through pretty nicely, I think. Certainly better than just the default bare cell stuff. Yeah, maybe I can replace this footer with what I had in the other site. Let's see, pages. Pages, index. Oh, I guess that's living in the layout. Okay. So let's jump over the layout. Okay, here's all this footer. And then I'm missing these Twitter, YouTube, Dev2, GitHub. Okay. So where do those live? So we're going to import those, and those are going to be in components/social, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't know where these are, so I think we can copy them over. So I'm going to make a directory for the social source components social. That's fine, but now I'm realizing up pages, that's going to be source. There we go. And then I'm going to have to copy copy these over to source components, social. Okay. Oh yeah, that just works now. That's cool. Doesn't really fit in this block here though. Maybe I can make it work though. Let's see. If I get rid of this one, and then if I get rid of the BG gray, I think we're already going to be on our way a little bit. Yeah, that's not bad, but I think we're going to need some sort of margin top 4 with a border top. Is that border top gray? No, that's not quite right. Margin top 8 and C. That gives it some real space. I really would like a, let's see, so tailwind, CSS, border, border width maybe, border T0, border T2. What about just border T? Okay. I think that's what we want. Yeah, that gives us a nice line up there. I think maybe we need a little more padding though. PY. Yeah, it seems like we got a lot of space on this bottom side here, so I'm not gonna get too fussy over this styling because I think it already looks pretty good, but kind of curious if I can figure this piece of it out. So okay, so it's just because this whole thing has a, yeah, that makes sense. So maybe we don't need so much, maybe we don't need the PX4. Yeah, how do we just do the padding top 4? Is that a thing? No, that's not a thing. Whoops. PX4 is fine. It's the PY. Okay. So that's interesting. Padding. How do I do padding just on the top of an element? PY, PX, PT. Oh, okay. PT4. Oh, I think that did it. I kind of like how that fits in now. Built with Gatsby, not true anymore. Let's fix that. Next.js. Built with the inner paste to replace that. We'll put Next.js. And all right, we've got these links going here. Those look awesome. Yeah, this heading stuff is wretched and I'm gonna have to fix that, but I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. We added in the footer. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Let's create a commit for that. No, yes, yes, we're pulling in all of that. And then we're adding in all of these social cards. That's all ready to go. So we'll do a git commit-v and yeah, add pull in index content from previous site. Cool. All right. Well, that I think is going to wrap up the stream for today. Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you following along and hope you picked up some things along the way. Have a good night.